Welcome to the Backlash. This is a weekly discussion about the past, present, and future of the Western world. I am Rebecca Hargraves, one of your hosts. You may know me from my channel on YouTube, Blonde in the Belly of the Beast. This is Dave Riley. Mr. Dave Riley, say hello.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Vincent James.
Yes. Oh, I can hear your mic now. I don't know why I couldn't hear your mic before.
No more on-air production meetings.
Wait, what is it? Why
Oh
is it
my God.
coming in and out for? Do you hear that? Or
It's
is
called
it
a
just
noise
me?
gate.
Oh, noise gate. Okay, you got to talk right in the mic.
No
then,
more
yeah.
talking shop on the show, buddy.
All right, here we go. Here we go. We are here. Got the MAGA hat on to piss off the other. Well, this person here.
Yeah, me.
And Cameron.
The wonderful Cameron McGregor. As always, welcome.
Yeah, I will not be wearing my MAGA hat
Can't
tonight,
hear
in case you
Why?
can't see it visually. But
Is he muted? Are
No.
you muted?
No, I hear him.
You can't hear him?
No, I can't hear him.
you can't hear me?
Are you kidding me? Bro, not going to make it.
Technical difficulties. Sorry to keep you waiting, folks. Complicated business. Look at this setup, though. I mean, this is
It is amazing. Last week, Dave translated our episode into ChatGPT so they could summarize the episode, and it said, like, marred by technical difficulties initially, but then went into a fruitful discussion about Western civilization. I was like, that is pretty accurate. Pretty accurate.
Can you hear him now?
I can hear both of them now, yeah. Yeah, I just sent you the link to that, too, by the way. I can hear her and Cameron. Can you talk? Say something, bud?
Yeah. Can
There
you
we go.
hear me okay?
I can hear him now. Yep,
Wonderful.
we're good.
Jeez, you people.
I know.
We're good to go. We're good to go.
Are
got
we?
a fire. We got a fire in the background. Do you
Can
see that?
we
It's
do this
cozy.
now?
It's cozy. in
It
here.
is cozy in here, yes.
By the way, this is not a green screen. This is real.
I got so many messages. People were like, that is
Yeah.
a green screen. And then
No,
I got a bunch of hate mail about
Walk
how
around. Look, see.
I don't understand the plight of every man because I'm so rich. I'm like, this isn't even my house. Like, what are you people talking about? It's green screen. It's green screen. Oh, look at how rich you are with your rich house.
Yeah,
This
you
is
are
your
rich.
house.
What are you
this
talking about?
is your house. What are you talking
This
about?
is not my. I
Yes,
do not.
this is. Whose house are we in then? It's in your house. This is your house. What, are you just afraid of swatting?
No, not really. My husband would love to get swatted. They would just make his day.
I'm sure it would.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, welcome to the Backlash. We have a lot to talk about this week. What have you guys been watching and listening? I have been binge watching Judge Napolitano all week.
Of course.
Just like every day I wake up and I'm like, who's he interviewing now? I'm just obsessed.
Yeah, Judge Napolitano's really pulled it out. He's really become one of the most, I think, important voices on the conservative, alternative influencer circle. And it's so funny too, when he got fired from Fox, I didn't understand it. He was their number one commentator at the time. I think he had logged more hours than any other news commentator at Fox, and all of a sudden, boom, he's out. And no one really understood why.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he starts up his YouTube show and he starts talking about what Netanyahu's been doing.
Exactly. He's been
And it's
getting
like,
killer views too.
Oh,
He has
yeah.
500,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And today I was watching a live stream with 46,000 views.
yeah.
Holy crap.
Could you imagine YouTube allowing that kind of discourse in
I know.
2019?
Absolutely
They were
not.
banning us for that.
Yes, they never would allow it. So, of course, what he was talking about today was the Netanyahu arrest warrant.
Right? He was found guilty by the ICJ of genocide, the crime
Yes.
of genocide, along with Yoav Gallant, I believe. Things like starvation and provoking the circumstances that would bring about the destruction of an entire ethnic group of people.
Right. So there was some speculation that if he has to refuel in Iceland or something like that they might actually arrest him.
There was a list: France, Canada, England, and the Netherlands, I think, is another one.
Well, let's talk about that.
There's no way they're going to arrest.
I was just about to ask,
There's no
what
way.
is the feasibility of something like this happening?
Zero.
Can we?
Zero is the chance.
This is where I want some hopium, guys. And with your stupid mega hat, I mean, no Netanyahu arrest, but like Trump is going to deport all of these people for
Day
it.
one. Day one. You see Stephen Miller went on Fox News and reaffirmed that. He said day one, it's happening.
Based.
It's going to happen.
Whatever. It's
Who
like,
else
you
was
guys
that?
are like going back to your abusive husband.
I saw someone else. Who else was it? It was Stephen Miller who said that. Homan.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see that Texas offered Trump 1,400 acres for the processing of 15 million illegals?
What?
You didn't see that?
No.
Yeah, Texas said, we'll give you 1,400 acres of desert land to process these people and send them back home.
That's fantastic. They should get the architects from in El Salvador to come up. The ones that built the new jail down there. Have you guys seen that?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the super jail, super
Supermax,
prison.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure when he deports 5 million illegal immigrants that all of our problems, economic and domestic, will be immediately solved.
Cameron, this is true,
Needs to be
right?
at least 15 million.
He's
At
going to do it,
least.
right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing the lottery every day, and I think I'm going to win. So yeah, I'm banking on Trump doing. Look, I'm a show me. I'm not from Missouri, but show me the plan. Show me how you're going to execute it. Trump is a great salesman. He talks a good game, but as Rebecca said, we've heard all this before, and I'd like to see it in action. That being said, I also have some sense of what it's going to take, and it's going to take armed forces, and our armed forces are on the verge of being involved in a world war. So until I see disengagement from one war to fight the domestic war, then I don't believe it.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about that. The Ukraine using long-range missiles from America, right? After Putin said that he was going to use nukes if you did that. But I do want to talk about this immigration thing. It's because, like, I don't know if you've seen, like, there's a theory out there that Nick was talking about this earlier as well, that like the GOP is just going to like stand in the way every step of the way and prevent Trump from doing anything. Like you saw what happened with this Gates thing,
Matt
this
Gates.
thing.
Yeah.
So what's the story with that? Like, what is our Senate majority going to? Because we know that Susan Collins and Murkowski they already came out and said that they're gonna try to prevent the Trump admin from doing anything. So that leaves us with, and if Gates is out, that leaves us with Republicans with a 50. So what does that look like? What's it looks like nothing is getting done, right?
Right. Well, I mean,
It's just a couple things on that. First, he can make a lot of recess appointments.
Right.
They're temporary, but he can put his own people in there. If he has a staffing plan, and like I said, I don't think he does, but if he did, he could make a lot of recess appointments. The second thing is he can pass the Insurrection Act. The Insurrection Act gives him broad powers as the commander-in-chief to use the army, the military, to override state authority and congressional authority if there is imminent danger to the population. I think he can make that case before the Supreme Court and before the Congress. Never mind the fact that Congress has to stop him from doing that. Now, the Republicans are gutless losers. Let's call them what they are. But
True.
In order to stop him, they would have to impeach him. So again, Donald Trump is the chief executive. He can take these steps from day one. He has broad authority to do so. I'll see it when I believe it.
Yeah, they
Or
are.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Thune couldn't even rally enough people to support Gates. So that's like failure.
Right.
Right.
don't you think it's a little too Thune for someone like Matt Gates?
You could not
it's
stop yourself,
interesting.
could you?
It's interesting that the entire media like came after him immediately.
Well,
Like that says something, right?
Well, and I think we said it last time. Matt Gaetz was one of the only appointees to the Trump cabinet that has not taken money from AIPAC. It's very clear Matt Gaetz has like a relationship with Charles Johnson, who I don't know if many people know. I don't know I'm friends with him. I don't know if I should be, but I think he's a great guy. Anyway, there's a connection there between Clearview AI, the stuff in Ukraine, Matt Gaetz, the ADL, Israeli interference in American politics. There's a nexus going on that Matt Gaetz was at the center of because like there was that scandal where he allegedly did something with a 17-year-old girl, but that was, I believe, an AIPAC guy actually that was getting him involved with all of that stuff. I'm not entirely well versed on.
The New York Times put out an article today about
Yeah,
this, right?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it was because of that. That was like, and it was yesterday, right? They had like this web. They drew up this web. Remember the intellectual dark web where they like connected all these like YouTubers together? It looked like that. The map looked like that. And it was talking about like how he paid this person and he paid this chick and he paid that chick. And
Oh yeah, I saw that.
But have you seen that
Yeah,
video?
but
of
you know
him? Go
the
ahead.
thing of it is, yeah, but the thing of it is, right, is that
Oh, he froze. Google.
Cam.
Is it Skype?
Well, we'll get Cam back.
Let me send you a video. I'm gonna send you this right now on Telegram, Dave. Play it. Try to see if you could put this up on screen. This is Matt Gaetz walking through Congress, naming all these people that are doing insider trading. I just sent it to you on Telegram.
Let's see here. I should be able to do this.
So you like Matt Gaetz?
I like him. Yeah. What do you think about him?
I think that he's a closeted homosexual, and I'm not buying any.
Wait, why?
Because of this weird thing with his stepson.
I don't know.
Come on.
But don't you think that could just be just attacking him because they know that he's not controlled?
Have you heard anybody from the left say that he's a closeted homosexual? This is not an allegation that's commonly known. I just believe that he's.
I don't know. Maybe,
and I hate his physiognomy, his face.
He does have a kind of a
sinister. He's got a
face.
sinister, weird face.
He's got a weird face. He
Every
does have-
fiber in my being is telling me that he looks like Satan, and I shouldn't trust him. This is
I
woman
just don't
thinking.
think we're
by the way.
ever who has ever been in politics or who in politics now is the perfect person, the perfect everything that we want. in a
Thomas
person.
Massey. He's
Okay.
great.
I would say he's close, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty close.
He's great.
Just because he talks about Israel.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I care about.
He
these
does
days.
have some weird things with some of his thoughts on gay marriage. It's just let it be and just
Okay, yeah, I know. Nobody's
Yeah,
perfect.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no
I
one's perfect.
understand what you're saying. No, nobody is perfect, but the political system is also imperfect, and none of these people wield as much power as anyone thinks. So,
Right. Yeah, it's just like Cameron was saying before, some of these positions that Trump's handing out to people are just positions that these people are never going to have anything to say. They're not going to have any say in anything whatsoever.
why do
A
those
lot of them.
positions exist? Why?
It's bureaucracy, right? It's the same bureaucracy that Trump promised he was going to fight against.
How much of the government do you think that we could just unilaterally dispose of?
Most of it.
I think seriously 95% of the government, and things would pretty much function as, but it would maybe better than
Right.
we're seeing in the day-to-day life.
That's what Schedule F was supposed to be
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
50,000 permanent bureaucrats and permanent bureaucratic staples in Washington, D.C. being wiped off the map. Is that him, or are we playing this?
The Bill Maher thing?
No, not that one, a different one. The one I just telegrammed you.
Another one?
Yeah. Matt Gaetz walking through Congress. See if you can get that up on screen.
You guys' chill attitude about this show, I am in
There it is.
stress hell right now.
This is amazing.
And your
This is-
BP is 90/60 right now. He just walks in, he's like, oh. He's 5 minutes before the show. I'm over here I'm going to projectile
Literally.
vomit. He's hey, what's wrong?
I came here at 6:40 and I forgot my microphone because I was supposed to bring my
Even though I reminded him twice.
Yes, and I was like, "Oh, I forgot my microphone." I had to drive back home,
get out
and I
of
got
here,
here at 6:55.
I'm in hell.
I'm just like, "Let's go! I'm ready. I'm
ready.
to go." No,
Why are you
nothing,
nervous?
nothing written down. Just in my phone, things in my head. All right, let's play it.
You have
Can
a
we
lot of
play it or no?
self-confidence.
All right, hold on.
And you're just putting Dave on the spot like this.
It's all good.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
But he's also chill, so I'm still the only one
Well,
freaking
we need
out.
another screen.
No
So
more screens.
the backlash.net, go to
Okay,
the
okay.
backlash.net, help us get more equipment. We need another screen because he needs to have two screens because then he could just switch to the other screen capture and it'll be right there up on screen. The
Okay.
internet will be right on screen. You just has to click one button.
You've got
So it doesn't matter. It's all good. Let's
I'm going to get
move
it
on
up
to
because it
something
was
else.
working.
Let's look at this tape. What are people saying in the chat? Has Blonde been drinking the water?
the lake water.
Oh, have you been drinking the lake water?
No, our lake is famously polluted with lead.
Yeah, I heard that.
And a lot of other things.
And a lot of you can't even eat the fish out of the lake.
That's what I heard. You're not supposed to eat
yes.
the fish.
Yeah.
Do not eat the fish out of Lake Coeur d'Alene.
Well, much less Lake Fernan. Right?
Yes,
That's even
I-
worse, right?
I would never drink the lake water here. I won't even swim in the lake. I won't even swim in it.
Oh, we do have super chats now, right, Dave?
We do have
We do?
super chats.
What is
Yes.
it? Powerchat.live /
Slash.
the backlash. Yeah, don't send it to our individual places. Send it to that. powerchat.live/the Backlash. We're going to go through them at the end of the stream. Blonde needs a strong man
To center and ground her. She's very high strung. It is true.
You're too OCD.
I am. I remember. Do you remember when Jordan Peterson, before we knew that, he sucked and was a stooge, he would do these personality tests, and I remember taking one, and it said that I was 100% on neuroses, 100%, and then it said in a room with 100 people, you're the most neurotic.
Great.
I know.
And she's podcast host with us.
Yeah.
So we've got this. Okay, so Matt
Here we go.
Gaetz. Matt Gaetz going through Congress. Oh, hey, camera's back.
Sweet.
Okay. Can you hear us, though? Can we hear him?
Oh my God, I need a brown paper bag to breathe into.
Okay,
We'll get
so this
this
is Matt
down,
Gaetz
guys.
going
This
through
is-
Congress.
More than
Congressman
we can ask
Gaetz
for.
offered to take us on a tour.
So one of the committees where people have a lot of information is the Appropriations Committee, because they can view almost any vector of government funding. And so, this is Mr. Rutherford's office. He's on the Ethics Committee and the Appropriations Committee. 152 stock trades. Stocks go through the roof. And, actually bought Raytheon stock the day that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, imagine if every American could make money off of war.
Yeah, setting aside the whole shame and ethics questions. How many more on our hit list here?
There are a few more. I wish there were fewer on the hit list. I wish we could only stop at one or two offices, but as it turns out, energy is a sector that sees a lot of congressional stock trading.
Sure.
And we have members who are on the Energy Subcommittee of Appropriations, like Michael Guest, chairman of the Ethics Committee, and he's traded somewhere between tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in energy stocks. He's been buying online gaming stocks and just making a killing on them. So you would think that the people that were on the Ethics Committee would be your best allies in this fight, but indeed they're some of the most prolific traders. And not only trading, but in the case of Mr. Guest, trading in an area where he has access to energy information more so than almost any other American.
And no indication that he wants to maybe slow down, pump the brakes, recognize that there might be some appearance of impropriety here.
It seems as though the pace is only accelerating.
All right.
It's pretty cool. When was the last time you saw, 2 questions, when was the last time you saw a Democrat do that, walk through Congress, call out their Democratic colleagues for insider trading or for whatever? And then 2, when are we going to get someone like that does that, but with like APAC donations?
Yeah, the question is, why haven't people in positions of power been doing this the entire time they've been in government? This should be their job.
Yeah, pay them more if that's what it takes to keep them from getting corrupt. I'm sure we can, if we deport all these illegals and save trillions of dollars and not spend money on war, and we pay our people in government $250,000, $300,000 a year, if it keeps them from corruption, or just outlaw it, do something to where people don't get involved in this stuff.
There's actually been, it kind of fits and it kind of doesn't, but there's been kind of an argument in Idaho politics recently because some of our legislators, $30,000 a year, which is barely enough to cover rent in Boise for 3 months. And, it's really funny because it's you see, well, it'd be nice if we actually had representatives that were equipped to do what we wanted them to do, right? Because they're citizens. We elect a citizen. They don't know how to write a bill. They don't know how to navigate lobbyists. If they had a staff that could actually do what they were told to do, it'd be interesting.
And the ones that do, they get somehow ousted or offed, or they have blackmail on them, or I don't know if that's what's happening with Gates or whatever, but it's dude, you're blowing up the spot. We're gonna fuck you up. We're gonna screw you up.
There's definitely. So they were using that the House ethics investigation into him as leverage, and there is a possibility that he was given the appointment for AG as a way to kind of resign and gracefully bow out with a different reason other than the looming ethics investigation. So that's another angle of it. Another theory, though, is that this is all a sting and that Trump is getting some of the worst people out of Congress. Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik. There's some of the worst offenders. And so the idea that he's kind of like picking them, getting them out of Congress, and then they'll probably go and confirm different people. It could be a play.
It's 4D chess.
It could be 4D chess. I'm not here to tell you that
hearing
it's
from
4D
you guys
chess.
is how we can
Call
get
our
the
Q
existing
guy.
system to change things. I don't understand you two.
We have to.
No, we don't. Cameron,
It looks like
He's
we're
smiling.
Who are you gonna
Hold on. It
He's
looks
grinning.
like
Who are you
we're-
going to
we're
replace?
glitching.
Who are you going to replace him with? If Trump's playing 4D chess, who are they going to be replaced with?
David Duke.
Yeah, right.
one could only hope.
Oh.
Yeah,
let's see
I
who
don't
else.
think so.
We're having some video glitching.
Joe
Video
Rogan.
glitching.
What? That could not be a suggestion in earnest.
What,
That guy's
for
retarded.
AG?
And short, I would like
No,
to
for
point
AG, they're putting in that woman from Florida.
out. Pam,
Yeah.
oh, what's her name? Bindi?
Yeah, but here's my question for you, Dave. When was Gates announced as the prospective AG? It was like a few days ago, right? Wasn't
Yeah.
that long ago, right?
Yes.
Were you aware that he was in the running for that? I certainly was not. That story in the New York Times dropped pretty fast.
Well, they had
And
it
all of
locked
a
and
sudden,
loaded.
it reminded me of what happened during the Hunter laptop issue. All of the mainstream media outlets ran the same story within a 24-hour period as soon as that dropped. They
Yeah,
were
that's
ready
so
and prepared
weird.
for that.
That's what I'm saying. That's
So
weird.
are you suggesting that Trump is cooperating? See, again, there's two ways to look at this, okay? One way is that Trump is secretly an idiot savant and he's gamed the system and he is outmaneuvering the mainstream press and cleansing Congress, as you say. That's one way. Or that even in Trump's inner circle, he's got traitors already that are feeding information to the mainstream press so that they were prepped and ready to destroy his nominee.
Well, I think that Gates stuff has been out for a while.
Yeah.
They just sort of like put together this like crazy diagram and published this big story on it. Like they've published.
Did it have
stories
any
on this
new
before.
information? Because we have heard
Not
these
really.
allegations before.
Yeah, we have supposedly a
The Venmo
second
payments,
a
right?
second 17-year-old came forward.
Oh.
Although,
Isn't 17 legal in?
many
Yes.
states in
In
Washington
35
State, it's
states.
Most
16.
of the states.
Is
yeah.
it the interstate?
Not in Idaho. In Idaho, it's 18.
Is it really? I
That's
thought it was
right.
16.
Pedophiles get out or shoot you.
You seem pretty knowledgeable on this subject, Dave.
Yeah, I didn't know.
He's got to make sure he's crossing borders.
I know that. Okay, so I know. I mean, I know this because there's a story that I've been working on, and I've been and
Maybe we should nominate you for AG.
maybe we'll do a deep dive on it. But no, I found out about this because there was a local priest in Coeur d'Alene in the 1980s, Bill Wasmuth, who was a radical communist leftist, started a bunch of social movements, and eventually he left the priesthood and took a 17-year-old with him out to Seattle.
I remember this.
And then he left the
reading
17-year-old for a 16-year-old. And, you know, he was
Leveling
It happens.
the leader of this big civil rights group, you know, fighting for rights, and nobody bats an eye. And he's hanging out with Morris Dees, who, according to court documents, used a toy on his daughter-in-law. Yeah, that happened. That's why he got.
Damn.
That's why he got ousted from the SPLC. These people are all pedophiles. A lot of them are.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry for the aside. So anyway, so in the course of researching that, I became familiar with the statutory age of.
Uh,
That's crazy.
but is it a crime?
Typical of those people, though. Those
Yeah.
types of people.
But
Yeah.
for Gates, what was criminal was that he took a 17-year-old into a state where the age of consent was 18.
I think
it was some like
the-
interstate.
And money.
Did you
being
guys read the New York
exchanged.
Times story?
No.
It's okay. It was mostly about paying women for sex,
Right.
not
Yeah.
not kids, and so it was like there was a bunch of Venmo payments, and they were like, these Venmo payments are questionable. Look, this Venmo payment says reimbursement. This Venmo payment says because you're awesome. This Venmo payment says, and they're like connecting the dots. But it's weird that it came out the moment, like
Right.
immediately. It came.
I don't
out.
think it's weird at all. Again, I mean, I think if the paradigm is that Matt Gaetz knows the extent to which Israel has compromised our American political system, then it would make sense that the entire media apparatus would instantly lash out at him and try to prevent like a immune response.
I kind of trust people more when that happens to them.
Yeah, I know. I think I know enough people that know Matt Gaetz that I think he's a stand-up guy, and it's a shame that he's not going to be our AG.
It's a pretty weak attack, though. I mean, at this point in time, the general public has been worn down to a nub in terms of moral impropriety.
Right.
So you see somebody like, oh, they got a hooker, and everyone's like,
yeah, I mean, at this point, we should be. That's where we should be.
Yeah.
We should be at that point. But a lot of Republicans are still pearl clutchers. They still care. They still look at the media and go, "Ooh, the media's
It's like,
saying
oh, they're
mean
conservative
things."
about stuff like that,
Right,
But
right.
then when it comes to like being against gay marriage, oh no, they don't have the moral courage to stand
Right,
up
right.
against gay marriage. Did you guys see that video that's going around of Donald Trump Jr.? He like reaches in his pocket and then goes like this. Did you see that?
No.
He rubs his gums, and everyone's saying he does coke. It's like, of course he does coke.
Yeah. Hello.
See that guy's face? Of course he does coke.
Jeez. Wow. This is like a revelation. Mm.
Yeah. Oh, but on that whole thing about like them taking apart, like the GOP capitulating to the forces that are attempting to dismantle the Trump agenda. How much do you think that's going to play a part, Cameron, in preventing Trump from doing mass deportations, from doing these things? Because Thune could have rallied enough troops to confirm Gates. How do you even say his last name?
Gates.
But he didn't. So is this a sign of things to come?
I mean, almost certainly, right? But again, these appointees matter, but they're not necessarily decisive if you have people at mid-levels in these bureaucracies that can go in and reorganize them, right? Look, Elon Musk, who is going to do something, I don't know what, he's not even going to be an appointee. He's not going to be Senate approved. So there's a lot of ways you can maneuver around the congressional nomination process. And you're right, Vince, he should have been prepared for this. I mean, all these people are going to go through the firing line. I will say from personal experience, I have seen some of these people go through it. And I wasn't impressed with the protective effort on behalf of Donald Trump. It didn't seem like an operation that was well organized to protect his own people. So, yeah, it's going to be a big problem. That being said, you got to have a staffing mechanism. You got to have a plan. It can't just be, well, I have the A team. It's got to be broader and deeper than that. And it looks to me like it's exactly what it was in 2016. Very, very sort of surface level, and then beneath that, no depth.
Yeah, it's going to be like Brett Kavanaugh on steroids as far as the confirmations go.
Yeah.
But wasn't this what Project 2025 was specifically supposed to stop from happening? I mean, wasn't most of Project 2025 like a list of 5,000 names of people that would be good to appoint in all these different federal agencies?
There was a bunch of suggestions. Yes.
I mean, that's what I thought the core of Project 2025 was. I thought that it was the list of names of people to put in to those positions. And when that got scrapped, then it's like, well, now we don't have a plan. We don't have the people to put in.
Well, it was mostly just policy recommendations, but that was kind of correlated to what was supposed to be Schedule F after you remove these people, right? It was sort of like a recommendation, a list of recommended people to put in their place, or to at least to staff your administration with. But a lot of it was just about like policy suggestions and policy proposals, like, as far as education is concerned, as far as immigration is concerned, as far as, like dismantling the Department of Education, which is unconstitutional. It was started under Jimmy Carter in the 1970s. It's completely unconstitutional.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Scores have gone down since the institution of the Department of Education. People are dumber because of that department.
But also but I don't know if any of that's ever going to get done, or if any of the things that we want, that we put the MAGA hat on for in the beginning, 2016, it was all about immigration.
Right.
Like, is that stuff going to get done? It seems like the Republicans just continuously capitulate.
It's never
You're
going
just, like,
to get done.
Black-pilled.
I'm not black-pilled, because actually Cameron and I had a discussion about this today.
joking.
So between Democrats and Republicans, it wasn't supposed to be this way. We were supposed to have a multitude of ideas, and it seems like the ground is fertile for the emergence of a third party, and yet that hasn't happened. Like nobody really aligns philosophically with Republicans or Democrats. Like I look at modern day Republicans, I'm like, I have nothing in common with
They're
people.
Democrats.
They're Democrats.
right? They're defending themselves on Twitter right now. I don't know if you saw the one that I replied to today, but there was someone who was saying, "Oh, I voted for gay marriage." It's like, how come? And maybe Chris Emerson could draw this in like a cartoon. But when I think of Republicans, I think of like a game of tug of war, right? You have the Democrats on one side, you have the Republicans on the other side of the rope, and the Republicans are just like letting go of the rope. And each time they give up ground on this rope, you have a ribbon. And that ribbon has something written on it, like gay marriage. And then you've got all these different things that Republicans are just like slowly giving up. And they're doing it on purpose. You know, gun rights, gay marriage, everything that defines or is supposed to define a conservative. And that's the reason why people correlated, Republicans and conservatives. And so we need something new. I don't know if Cameron is very optimistic about something like this. Is there a way to have maybe like a caucus that maybe gains power, like what we had with the America First caucus at first? Like, is there a way to have a caucus and have that be the beginning of a new party? It's just all up to people's moral courage. What do you think, Cameron?
Well, you gotta think in terms of machine politics, right? So again, I obviously am not a huge fan of Donald Trump, but Donald Trump's at a massive disadvantage because he doesn't really understand the political system. He's been around it, he's donated to a lot of people, but if you look at the two dynasties that have really dominated American politics up until Obama, it was Bush and it was Clinton. And when the Bush administrations came in, they had their people. Actually, I don't know if you guys watched the movie Vice, which was all about Dick Cheney. But in that film, they show you exactly how the Bush administration and Cheney operated. They had an entire staffing plan for the whole government, and they coordinated all of these people, okay? So you have to think in terms of a machine. Trump never built that. Now, Bush was able to leverage Focus on the Family as an example. And Focus on the Family was a massive driver of the evangelicals that propelled him into victory in 2000 and 2004. I mean, to the point where people thought at the time that the Democratic Party was finished. The Democratic Party adjusted, right? They developed their own sort of machine. So, and Obama was a big part of that. We have a machine that's already there to some degree. It's us. It's the online right, if you will. That online right has to convert into something that's rank and file on the ground instead of just voting for Donald Trump, which is basically what we have done with our leverage and our power.
We need like a right-wing George Soros, but that funds shows like this, except for and not like shows that will never talk about like the Jews.
But we have that. We have that. We have Elon Musk.
Where
are you, Elon? Where's the
one
but
Bitcoin?
Elon Musk thinks that Donald Trump can reform the government. He doesn't understand that it's going to take a machine. It's going to take a reform party to do that. He just doesn't grasp it. Maybe he will learn from this experience and conclude that. We'll see.
What do you think about the idea of it starting as a caucus, like how Matt Gaetz and them, they had that America First caucus that kind of quickly fell apart because of lack of moral courage? I get it. Literally comes down to people's moral courage. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to
Matt Gaetz could have done
ideas.
it. Yeah, he could have done it. And when, like I said, when they basically launched a coup against McCarthy, that was an opportunity to schism. But nobody has been willing to do it. And I think you're exactly right, Vince, is because they lack the leadership strength of character to do it. And I do think there are a lot of people that just think it's impossible when it is clearly not impossible. Look, Donald Trump's election was impossible, and he did it. And he's not that smart of a person or that charismatic, in my view. So obviously it can be done, but we need to apply some imagination, and we need to stop investing in a political structure, which is the two-party system, and expect some kind of different result. That's pointless. We need to wake up and realize that.
Which is the mission statement of this podcast. And then these guys.
That's right. Showing up 5 minutes before the show starts.
Talking about policy changes and who the government should be staffed
Belching.
with. Yeah.
Just let it
Look,
all
every major party in the history of the country starts with a key issue, right? The Republican Party was abolitionism, and abolitionism was an extremist position at the time. Ours should be immigration. That's
Yes.
what Trump was all about. We should have an America First immigration party, a national party. And like I said before, that the process has already begun. We just have to completely decouple from Trump and the Republicans and realize they're never going to do anything about this, functionally or otherwise, as Rebecca said.
That might become apparent at the end of the administration.
We'll find
or we're going to be putting our MAGA hats on.
Oh my God. Okay.
Double.
What say you, Cameron, about the logistical problems with immigration and not being able to do that? People are saying, you know, even with the force of the military and the federal budget of the United States government, that it's going to be nearly impossible to deport all of these people. What do you say for the emergence of a third party and how we would tackle these logistical issues?
Yeah, so number one, it's not impossible. In fact, you guys probably remember the governor of Arizona, Jan Brewer. Remember her in the late 2000s? She had a little spat with Obama over immigration, and then she passed some legislation that allowed local law enforcement to, upon suspicion, ask for the legal status of people in her state. Well, there was a mass exodus out of Arizona at the time. I mean, it worked very quickly. So, no, it can be done. But in order to do it, you have to have a plan. You have to execute that. You have to realize, for example, if you're going to use the U.S. military, you've got to change the senior leadership, most of whom are Democrats, right? The Democratic Party's always understood restaff these agencies, restaff these bureaucracies. On our side, we seem to be naive and think that with incremental change, we can solve everything. No, you need to take a sledgehammer to these organizations, and then you can push that ahead. Regarding the party is the staffing mechanism. That's what it is. It's all of the people that are needed to implement these in one singular organization. Trump could do that. He doesn't, because I just don't think he's that competent. So no, it can be done.
Right. And like we
Absolutely
talked
done.
about last week, he's a poor judge of character. And I think that fundamentally the problem that we're all recognizing within the Republican Party is that they lack integrity. Can't we have a new party, a nativist party that focuses mostly on immigration, but really it's just about a return to integrity and principled living? That's really what people are thirsting for.
Just stand up for what you believe in. It's so gay.
Well,
Like,
unless
it's
what you
so-
believe in is stupid and gay.
But I mean, I still think that there's, people are still kind of like figuring it out, but like how the party works, how the party actually works, like from the county level up to the state level to the RNC,
Yep.
How these precinct committee positions really are heavily impactful to policy. Like you can look at some of the different counties, even in Idaho, and look at some of the people who are PCs, and it's like sketchy. And you can see very clearly how special interest groups will put people up to run for these positions to gain control from the party at the lowest level. And then when they do that and they get like a little cadre of 5-10 people that make enough noise, then they can bring, floods of people into the party, staffing, all of that. And that's basically
right.
how
Well, that's
this
the
works.
Rocky Mountain heist in Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, the Idaho Republican Party from 2020 to 2022, the main, what's it called? Not the chief executive officer, but you know what I'm talking about, the executive assistant, the main
Of
one
the state.
of the state party. That was
Yeah.
run by a guy named Amos Rothstein, who was an AIPAC lobbyist.
Rothstein?
Yeah.
He was an APAC? I can't believe that.
Yeah. Wow. What a
Holy-
surprise. But what I'm saying is that, like, you can look at this, Tom Luna wins, and then all of a sudden, boom, he brings in his staff, his executive director, AIPAC lobbyists all the way down.
No, I think that that's a great idea, but I worry that we're not going to be allowed to form organizations in the same way. I feel like the federal government is going to be really on it. And I think that they're watching us, specifically in North Idaho, for any whiff of organization of any kind.
Right. And that's why
Did you guys see the FBI was raiding? They were infiltrating traditional Catholic churches.
I did see
up
that,
here.
right.
Yes, they were.
They were putting FBI, and this is all documented. This
yeah.
is all true. You can look this up. They were putting like FBI agents in traditional Catholic churches to listen to what people say.
Yes.
Totally.
In the churches.
3 years ago, I was at St. Thomas, and I look with my family, and I look in front of the pew in front of me. Man, clearly Jewish. Like no two ways about it. Obviously,
Blessed
Jewish.
be God. Blessed
That's
be
good.
God.
That
Another
means they're
child of
converting.
God has come home.
No, that means that there was an FBI agent that was sitting there. No, like
You need more charity.
what is more? I need less charity. Okay, if Catholics need one thing, it is less charity.
I don't know about that.
And that's not even a traditional Catholic church.
No,
not
but
a
I mean,
traditional Catholic church.
it's true. My parents, an FBI agent, started coming to mass in Scranton, where they go to mass, and showed up for a couple of months and talked to my parents, and
Tried to sell him this sawed-off shotgun.
right,
That's
and
the old
then they
thing,
stopped
yeah,
coming.
That's the old.
Well, I mean, one of the things, and this is something I don't want to tip my hand, too much, but there are party structures that are out there, but mostly dormant. I mean, look at the Constitution Party.
Yes.
The Constitution
Yes.
Party has infrastructure set up, I believe, in 38 states. So, like, if you wanted to run for president, with the Constitution Party, you could actually get on the ballot in 38 states. So that's like your best bet as a third party right now would be to organize the Constitution
Or
Party.
you can start a caucus and
The
not
Libertarian
be gay.
Party is trash.
And still
I'm
run
sorry.
as a
there-
Republican
there's
with
a-
America First.
I feel like you're saying caucus.
There's a few
Caucus.
things. There's
Caucus
a
is
few
the
things.
Black
that-
caucus is stronger than the white caucus.
Hey.
Go ahead, Cameron. Sorry, we're getting out of hand
There's a-
over here.
No talking.
All right.
There's a few things. Yeah, there's a few things I would say. One is legal's a big part of this. So you guys probably, I don't know if you know who David Brock is, but David Brock founded
Media
Media Matters. Yep, and he raised $100 million to do it. Okay, and the donors, the contributors to that fund are largely unknown. I know Cheryl Atkinson wrote a book years ago called The Smear, which is worth reading if you want to dig into this. But she unearthed basically the skeletal structure of Media Matters. It was not just fact checkers. It was LLCs, it was nonprofit, a whole confederated structure that was designed as sort of an extra political woke machine that would destroy people's lives, that would, lie about them, defame them. And this organization took down Glenn Beck. It took down Bill O'Reilly, right? So my question is, you have $100 million this guy raised for Media Matters. Where's our Media Matters? Doesn't exist, right? So it's not just about building the party. You got to understand how the leftist machine actually works, right? They leverage control of the press. They have organizations like the ADL. They have the Southern Poverty Law Center. That's the template. We have to mimic that template. We can do that, right? We have the money. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He's worth $300 billion, for Christ's sakes. But instead of dumping it into some octogenarian that doesn't know what the hell he's doing, Donald Trump, he should create a Media Matters. And my point is, if you staff up, if you lawyer up, you can deal with the FBI. An example of this, just to be clear, so people understand what the hell I'm talking about, there's a company called Ripple, and Ripple has a cryptocurrency that was sued by the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Committee, okay? And this was launched by Gary Gensler, one of Dave's favorite people. Everybody knows that if the SEC comes after you, you lose. Guess what? Ripple won the lawsuit. How did they win? They lawyered up. They spent a lot of money, and they dotted all their I's, they crossed all their T's, and they won the lawsuit. If you lawyer up, if you're professional, you can win. The problem is our side is fragmented. It's not very professional, and we're trying to do politics first. No. You do the politics last. Build all the other infrastructure first. Then you can go political.
Right.
That's true, but we have major ideological differences amongst right-wingers, and I think that they are fundamentally irreconcilable. I look at your average constitutional conservative that is super jazzed about Trump, that is secular or Zionist, and I have as little in common with that person, which makes up the bulk of Republicans, I would say. I have as little in common with that person as a apolitical leftist that you pull off the street in Seattle. What am I supposed to do with these people? Because I find they're...
Be patient with them.
I can't, because they just get stuck, all right? They just get
Wait,
stuck.
what do you mean an apolitical leftist? You mean an atheist leftist?
No, I mean, if you pull an average person off the street in Seattle,
The
that's not
default leftist.
the default leftist. They're not super into politics, but they've
just like
kind of
an
adopted
apolitical, sort of like hippie,
Yes,
like,
yes.
oh, just let it go,
Yeah.
let it, yeah.
I have a problem with these people that are highly opinionated on the right, that have large followings and maybe have made some alliances with some people that will stop their personal progression, their political progression. What are we supposed to do with these people? We got Mark Levin. Okay. You think that Dan Bongino is going to be talking about Israel anytime soon? Ben Shapiro. What am I supposed to do with these people? Like, I have nothing in common with them. I do not want to ally with them.
Well, first of all, Ben Shapiro's a spy. Okay.
Probably, yeah.
No, he's a spy.
For Mossad?
Yeah.
I'm not joking. No,
I'm not kidding either. He's a spy. That's what a spy looks
you.
like. They're not like James Bond driving around in the car. They're like,
They're Ben
running
Shapiro,
a money laundering machine and
Well, they can't, if they're
influencing.
Epstein, they are.
Right. Well, maybe Epstein, but
Right, but didn't he like praise Palantir recently or not too long ago?
Who?
Ben Shapiro?
Shapiro.
Shapiro? Oh, of course he did. I mean,
Yeah, he retweeted Palantir and said
Sure.
because they were like setting aside 250 positions.
yeah, they had
for-
an affirmative action thing where they set aside
Right.
200 jobs. for
even though
people
he
that are
hates
Jewish.
affirmative action, supposedly.
Who, Ben?
Yeah,
No,
that's what he says.
No.
He was praising Palantir because they put aside 250 positions for Jewish people, and Palantir is literally the CIA.
Wow, what a surprise.
Yeah, what a surprise!
Hey,
What a shocker!
He values nepotism when it comes to
I'm just
his
saying my
people.
shares are up since the
Palantir.
election.
Well, they went public in 2020.
My shares are up.
Yeah, they went public.
I didn't
after
buy in
COVID.
at 6, but it's at 60 now. And man,
Actually, it's a safe.
I regret
it's a
that.
Safe, it's a safe buy.
it's a safe buy. MicroStrategy also.
Are you guys,
Buy.
What-
are you
what
guys
I-
doing
what I would
impressions of
say-
stupid boomers? Is that what's
No,
happening
no,
right
no.
now?
I'm giving financial.
Seriously? Oh, I thought this was like
Oh
a
wait!
gag.
Before I forget, Cameron's about to say something, but Democrats of like the 60s are more hardcore right wing than Republicans of today.
Totally.
Like
yeah.
Mayor Daley in Chicago used to like get up on stage and just be like, "Shoot black people looting." Just like there's videos of him saying this. Like,
Oh, who was the other one? George Wallace from was it Alabama?
I think I've seen some. Quotes
Don't
of him.
forget about Frank Rizzo.
That's
Yeah,
right.
hey,
Frank Rizzo.
Philly.
Frank Rizzo is another one.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What I would say, Rebecca, is you just got to trust the process. So I think it is absolutely clear that if you go back 30 years, people on the right are moving farther and farther and farther to the right every year.
Yep.
And the discussion, I mean, just look at the discussion we're having today. Go back 10 years. Nobody would touch any of the issues, half the issues that we're discussing. So regarding Mark Levin and a lot of these, they're irrelevant. They don't matter. And I think Trump made a mockery of a lot of the legacy Republican Party in 2016. Remember that when he ran in 2016, it was supposed to be Jeb Bush, right? It was his turn. So, and why did Trump win? Again, it wasn't because Trump was so smart or he had a nuanced take. It's because people have had it with the legacy party. They don't want it anymore. So trust the process. The important thing is to give people an option, because people are going to only vote Republican if that's the only damn option.
Right.
You've got to come up with a third way. That's what we must do.
Here's a quick trivia question for everybody. Who can name the first third party in American politics? Do you know the name?
Oh, wasn't that I saw someone was talking about that in the chat?
Don't look.
The first third was it
Cameron,
the
do you
America
know?
First Party?
No.
Well, I think it's the Whig Party, isn't it?
Actually,
Right.
it was the Anti-Masonic Party.
Oh.
Oh, really? Okay.
Was the earliest third party in the United States. It was a single issue party that was
Interesting.
opposed to Freemasonry. And so this happened
there you
when the American public in the early 1800s started to become aware of the idea that a group of shadowy people behind the scenes are cutting deals that they were not privy to. And that the two-party system was broken.
That's
So
crazy.
why
I didn't know
don't-
that.
The
I thought it was-
1820s.
So
Why
this
don't
is
we
before
pick
the
up
Whig
the
Party?
infrastructure? It's pre-Whig. Yeah.
It's pre-Whig. Yeah.
And why don't we pick up the infrastructure of the anti-Masonic?
And of course, and look, it's only like 30 or 40 years after the revolution.
Instead of Masonic, let's just put Semitic.
Oh dear God! Well, actually,
Sorry.
E. Michael Jones.
Sorry, Cameron.
E. Michael Jones has posited that something like that. I mean, I think that there will be. I think that there's a. I mean, I remember talking to my dad 4 years ago on the phone. Maybe he'll remember too. I remember where I was. I was at a truck stop in Colorado, and I was at a store, and all the people at the store were like Antifa, and I was picking up some camera equipment or something, and we started talking, and they mentioned something about Israel, totally unprovoked. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of weird. I remember calling my dad, like this is 4 or 5 years ago, and I remember saying, hey, you know, the left and the right, one of these days are going to come together on this foreign influence issue. You know, it could happen.
Occupy Wall Street.
And so,
Occupy Wall Street.
Depending on what happens in the next, you know, year or two of the Trump administration, if he drags us into war in the Middle East, if the situation in Gaza and the West Bank and the Golan Heights gets worse, then I think that there is a significant potential for some sort of explicitly anti-Zionist movement or coalition to come about.
I think that'll happen. I think it will get worse. I think
If it gets worse,
people are. Dan Bilzerian, right, the dude with the most Instagram followers on Instagram, is now openly like talking about Zionist control, Zionist power. This should never happen.
Are we speaking
before.
euphemistically on the show? We never agreed.
No, I mean we should say what we mean.
No, I just mean like Jake Shield, like all these people coming out and talking about this that have never like. People are starting to have courage.
Yeah.
They're starting to have more courage. And I think that as people become more aware of these things, you know, places like X grow, Rumble, things like this, that maybe we'll get some more moral courage out of people that, you know, start caucuses like the America First caucus.
That's true.
And then they won't like cave and just fall apart because they have zero moral courage. I mean, like conservatives used to be conservative. Obviously, they're not conservative anymore. And we need to actually get back to being conservative.
Right.
The fact that we've accepted this stuff has gotten us to this point, right? You can say like, oh, you know, I'm on board with this, and I'm on board with this, and I'm against abortion, but you know, like the whole thing with the gay marriage stuff, I don't know, just kind of like let them be. Like it's because of that way of thinking that we're in this position to begin
Right,
with.
or financial entanglements. Like boomers, I was talking to somebody about this today. They knew all about the Jews. They did, but they were like, well, you know, my portfolio is looking pretty good and I can afford a house and my wife doesn't have to work. And they're kind of like,
I don't really know.
The Nixon tapes were like about that, weren't they?
There have been periods throughout American history where this issue has come to the forefront of American consciousness. It's happened before.
It has happened before.
I mean,
it's
think
more
about
now,
it.
though, right?
Every Model T, every Ford car sold from like 1918 to 1924 came with a complimentary copy of the Protocols.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true.
That's basically true.
That's not true.
Henry Ford.
No,
yeah.
it came with the Dearborn Independent. And
Okay,
the Dearborn
listen, I know
Independent-
Henry Ford said all the things that people say are anti-Semitic. You know,
Walt
he
Disney,
said-
too.
Walt Disney.
Yeah, I'm saying that this has happened several times, and
Many
you know,
people, right? Lots of people.
We're going to have to navigate
Charles
this
Lindbergh.
issue.
He was the one who started the America First Party. Charles Lindbergh. Wasn't there like the second biggest Nazi rally that ever happened in the world in Madison Square Garden in New York in 1930 something?
Yeah, I think it was 1936.
Yeah, 1936, Madison Square Garden.
Could be.
So, like, you know, Charles Lindbergh, all these people, they used to say these things. I just don't think that the general public was as conscious about it as they are today.
Right.
Could be.
Yeah, I think
It
you'd
could
be
be.
very. I think you'd be very surprised on that point. But in any case, one thing I think is very important to note is that the prime directive for every person, it doesn't matter whether they're white, black, American, or otherwise, is to do no harm.
Yep.
Right? You just want to live your life. You want to stay in your lane. Okay. That does not mean, however, that you are an ignorant moron. And a lot of people know what's going on. Believe me, I lived in D.C. for a decade. Everybody knew who was running the United States. Everybody knew who the most powerful lobbies were. Everybody knew who dominated K Street. That's where all the lobbyists operate in Washington, D.C. The difference now, however, is that there's a lot of fatigue because we've been involved in a lot of these conflicts overseas. Again and again and again. But Israel has always sort of been at the backdrop of it. It's never been the centerpiece. Now it's the centerpiece. And people are beginning to ask, well, why is that the case? Why are we fighting for this specific power who we're not even allied to? Why is it that Congress, which is divided on virtually everything, is uniform on this one particular issue. And that's the death knell. It really is. That's why I say this is the peak of their influence over the government, and they're driving it right off the cliff.
That would, you reminded me that the United States of America does not actually have a signed treaty with the state of Israel. We do not have any kind of mutual defense treaties, any kind of treaties about hostilities, and they also certainly haven't signed the nuclear non-proliferation agreement.
They're the only country that doesn't have to sign that.
Correct.
The only ally that doesn't have to sign that.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and the reason for that, Dave, is because if there was a formal alliance, it would govern specific terms of what we could supply them with, of how they would spend our money. So they didn't want a formal alliance on that basis. My point is simply to say, I think awareness of this is surging everywhere. I think it's more common than you might imagine, okay? And I think Twitter is a reflection of that. I don't think Twitter is the echo chamber that a lot of people think it is. I think it's just slightly ahead of where most people are, which is why the impetus for something new is quite strong. The issue is that Trump is the hopium. Trump is the idea that this system that's hopelessly broken can fix itself. And there's a lot of people that want to believe that. And I think they're in to be disappointed in the next 90 days. And then they'll wake up.
We'll see. Well, he's going to do. The thing is that if immigration doesn't get done, and if the J6ers aren't released, I would consider this administration a massive failure.
If
there are no mass deportations,
he didn't mean to.
Because those are the only two things that, that's something that can't be undone. Like, you can't put the J6ers back in prison. I mean, I guess you could. But you can't, well, I guess you could bring in more people. But you understand, like, this is something that can't be undone, that's not done by executive order, can't be undone by executive order, right? These mass deportations. All the rest of the stuff can probably be, he probably has to do by executive order, and it can probably be undone by executive order after he leaves office in 4 years. So, I mean, I totally agree.
Well,
I would add, he's got to keep us out of the war. He's got to keep us out of a major war. That is within his power to do. If he botches that, it's going to destroy him. It's going to destroy his administration.
Do you think they're trying to find a way to Iran through the Ukraine and Russia thing? Because like they're inevitably going to.
Well, Russia's been
there's
supplying
a world
Iran.
war, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Russia started supplying Iran with bombs recently.
Like, what the axis of evil that they talk about, right? So if
the axis of resistance.
No, they say the axis of. They call them the new axis of. Is it? Is that what they say?
They call themselves the axis of resistance.
I'm talking about who there's Russia, Iran, China.
The axis of resistance.
Is that what they call themselves?
Yes.
Okay, because like Dan Crenshaw calls them the axis
of evil. Well, yeah, that's right.
Because he's trying to use terms to justify war. Do you think that that's a path that they're looking for? Is to Iran through the Russia-Ukraine thing?
What do you mean that they'll try to embroil? What is the deal
here? What is the deal with this Ukraine-Russia thing? Like, what is going on? Is it just like because Russia's the last like Christian country in Europe? Is that the reason why is that the only reason why they just want to like take them down and see them go down?
They're white identitarians.
Are they just trying to start a World War III? Like,
it's about destroying the remaining holdouts of unified white identitarian Christians.
So I think that's one reason.
Yeah. But that doesn't really
I think
describe
that's one
Russia.
reason.
It doesn't really describe Russia.
I would say there's two others. The second is that Putin has de-dollarized. So if you recall, he liquidated all of his treasury bonds. He's been heavily sanctioned, and the bankers specifically, and the managerial elite of our monetary empire wanted to make an example of the Russians, right? Wanted to flex their monetary power. And as soon as they sanctioned the Russians, guess what? Their economy didn't fall apart. They developed new supply chains, and their relations with non-Western countries actually strengthened. That is an existential threat to the dollar. Now they're building alternative monetary systems. Now they're talking about alternative grain organizations. All of this is a threat to America's legacy monetary empire as they perceive it. They caused it to happen, to be sure, but that's one reason. The other is you have to think the way that the DC elite do. They live in the neoliberal order, the rules-based order, okay? And anybody outside of that is an authoritarian who may or may not become Hitler. So that includes Russia, that includes China. Anybody that opposes our woke democracy is an existential threat. That's Russia. That's the justification for this war. Same thing with Iran. Same thing with China. It all adds up. And that's literally how these people see things. It's very scary. It's very dangerous.
Well, to me, Iran is because Israel wants it, right?
Yeah.
Iran factors in primarily because of Israel, yes. Right. But remember, a lot of people in D.C. regard the mullahs who run, the ayatollahs who run Iran, as authoritarian dictator of threats. Right. Again, it's this neoliberal order. If you oppose the neoliberal order, you are an authoritarian that must be destroyed. This is the neocon paradigm, and unfortunately, it's driven our foreign policy since World. That's what this war is really about.
And our domestic policy, apparently. I mean, just the fact that they can call you that means that, okay, you have to kowtow, you have to like cave, and you have to like get these like racist out of your.
Here's what's very sad, though. I don't mean to cut you off, Vince, but this is important. We are at war. The United States is at war right now. We are at war with the Mexican cartels, and we've been at war with the Mexican cartels for 2 decades. And there is, I was out to dinner earlier this week with some local Mexicans, and they told me that the situation in Mexico today is worse than Colombia in the 1980s. And Colombia in the 80s was when Pablo Escobar reigned, okay? So Mexico is basically breaking down as a functional state. And all of the drugs, all of the fentanyl, the cocaine, all of it is coming up through Mexico. And now the cartels are trafficking drugs across the entire United States. They've got networks in Chicago. They've got networks in Atlanta, okay? That's the war that we should fight. That's where our armed forces should be deployed. But the neoconservatives, the neoliberal order, they don't give a damn about that, because what becomes of the United States is secondary if they care about it at all. And to the extent they do care, they want Mexico to flood massive numbers of people to replace us, right? That's what this is all about. So my point is, we are at war.
Oh, no, go ahead. You can finish.
No, I'm done.
Well, I was just saying, instead of sending our long-range missiles to Ukraine, we should be sending them to Mexico, except for the fact that they detonate upon arrival. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe,
okay.
Yeah.
That's
Look,
it.
the cartels, the cartels are actively fighting the Mexican army down here. They're launching drone strikes. They've got checkpoints set up. They're checking cell phones from rival cartels, right? Because the cartels have factionalized. It's a very dangerous situation that poses an existential threat to the United States, and we're doing nothing about it. Nothing.
El Chapo's brother broke out of prison. Wasn't that El Chapo's brother who busted out of prison? There was like a full-on war in the streets, like civil war. That was like a couple years back.
So El Chapo was arrested a few years ago by the U.S. government, and that created a power vacuum. And so the Sinaloa cartel basically factionalized, and all of his offspring are running different factions of it, and it's an open civil war.
Yeah, and that happened again with his brother.
Yeah.
Can I add another layer of complication to this? You're going to hate me.
Certainly. Oh, great. That's
Oh, Mexico's controlled by Israel too? A Times investigation revealed the story behind how Mexico became the first and most prolific user of Pegasus. Oh, yeah,
Is this facial recognition technology?
That's the software that Israel sent through our iPhones, right? Isn't that what that is? Yeah.
The Israelis had come to Mexico to clinch a major sale, the Mexican military. But then it falls into the hands of the Sinaloa cartel.
How did that happen?
Well, the thing that's interesting about Pegasus is much like our ACTAM missiles, which cannot function without our infrastructure,
And our
without
data,
our satellites,
right.
without our data. Pegasus cannot function abroad without that same kind of infrastructure being provided by
By
NSO
NSO.
Group, by Unit 8200.
Yikes.
And so there is a very real possibility that a lot of this
The Sinaloa
gang
students.
activity that's been going on, especially when you look at like things like the Iran-Contra affair, where we were, arming the Iran. We were selling. What was it? Were we selling guns to the Iranians
Yes.
with
Contras.
with drug
Yeah.
money from the Contras or something like that?
And the Contras. And get this, during that, Israel was actually selling weapons, or was it the other way around? Israel was selling weapons, or Israel was buying weapons from Iran,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah, Israel and Iran have a much closer relationship than people think.
And they were
believe.
they were exchanging information. I think for the most, they wanted to bomb a reactor in Iraq. So during the Iran-Iraq War,
Which one? The for 2000s?
during the
Talk about the 1980s.
yeah, the
80s,
missile crisis. Yeah, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, Israel was siding with Iran while we were with Iraq, while we were siding with Iran,
Right.
and they were basically exchanging, or the other way around. Israel was siding with Iran while we were backing Iraq. And so they were exchanging information, and now they're just like, oh no, we got to take out Iran. Isn't it kind of
It's a little odd. But back to the border, back to this this issue with the southern border. I mean, it is interesting, isn't it, that they've got this situation happening in the Middle East, and they also have this handy technology that can allow some of the most lethal people, some of the worst people in the world, to like gain access to like sheriff's cell phones, FBI agents,
Right.
The government that's going after them, right? And so that kind of like adds this level where, it increases internal conflict in America. It increases, what we're arguing about over here, so that they
Well,
can
I'm
continue
sure
to
if we
prosecute.
get the right people in government, that they will be
MAGA.
able to.
It could all change
Dark MAGA.
overnight. Overnight, it could change.
RFK is going to come through? He's going to release the documents on JFK.
Hope so.
He's going to ban Monster Energy drinks and
Ban seed oils.
replace them with a copy of what was the one that was written by the Martin Luther?
It's out. Okay.
Oh my
What are we
gosh.
playing? Are we
Do we
playing
want to?
something?
Do we want to get into that?
We should get into that a little bit. So we've been talking a lot about what is the true foundation of America, because I believe that most of our problems were pretty much baked into the cake. Cameron, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you did mention something about the intended foundation of America is not what people believe foundational values actually are. So I thought we wanted to discuss this a little bit. Like, what is the true mission, the true foundation of America? Because I believe that it is basically pilgrim-style white identitarianism is the only thing that we actually have in common. I'm sure you guys are stupid constitutionalists. Constitutionalists, not stupid constitutionalists.
Well, I'm not an Anglo, but I agree.
You're
Right?
honorary Anglo.
All of the immigration acts up until 1965 pretty much were to make sure that was, talking about people's consciousness and how conscious they were of this, of these problems all the way back when. In 1954, there was something called the Walter McCarran Act. In fact, there were multiple acts like this that were specifically meant to prevent Jewish immigrants from coming over here from Eastern Europe in order to prevent communism from spreading. Like, this was essentially their explicitly stated goal by a lot of these immigration acts, by preventing Eastern European Jews from coming over to America because they wanted to prevent communism from spreading. And
That was what the 1924 Act.
54 Walter McCarran
54.
Act. It was kind of about that, but there was a bunch of others. Like, in fact, the Statue of Liberty, there was the poem that was written on the Statue of Liberty wasn't added to the statue until like 17 years later. I think you guys know the history of it. The statue wasn't really supposed to be for us. It was supposed to go to Egypt. It was supposed to be sitting in the Suez Canal. but there was a poem that was written by a woman named Emma Lazarus. She was an Eastern European Jew, Russian,
Yes.
Jewish immigrant, I think. She wrote this poem to raise money for the pedestal of the statue. And give me you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry. This was added 17 years later. And basically this was a cry for help for the Eastern European Jews because of the pogroms that were happening at the time. And America, this country, had a lot of immigration laws that were meant to prevent Eastern European Jews specifically from coming over here because they were going to make this country communist. In fact, we deported several Eastern European Jews who we found out were communists. So, yeah, I agree.
I did not know that.
Yeah, who was Goldberg? Emma Goldberg, right?
I knew about her.
Wasn't she deported?
That was like 1918, right?
Yeah, it's 1920, yeah, something like that. Anyway, so yeah, I agree that is the foundation of the country. But what about the religious aspect of it? I know Cameron had something to say about this link that we're going to play of there's Milo was on. You want to just play it and then we can comment on it?
With his ridiculous veneers, this guy.
Oh, man.
Oh, are they fake teeth?
Oh, yeah. Just disaster. I don't even know how that fit in his mouth.
What Adam said, okay, was that the Bill of Rights, meaning everything after the Constitution, the amendments, was suitable only for the government of a moral and religious people.
That's right.
And what he meant by that was Christians, okay?
Why wouldn't he say
cannot
Christian explicitly then?
Well, because
Jewish,
everybody was
by the way,
Christian.
that
Because
could-
it was
Then why wouldn't he say it explicitly?
because it was a given. Religious,
you don't need to.
religious,
No, guys,
religious,
Elad,
you're wrong.
Religious
good
freedom.
Christians,
Religious
too.
freedom in the time of the founders was about competing Protestant denominations, and those competing Protestant denominations, they wanted to avoid wars between Calvinists and Presbyterians, whatever. So religious freedom was designed to stop civil wars among Protestant denominations, and moral and religious people meant to the founders and everybody else at the time Christians. You cannot give non-Christian people unfettered access to speech or guns. It doesn't work, and it's not working, because if the First Amendment, basically the way this country is set up is. Morality is outsourced to Christianity, okay? You have a huge amount of freedom, unprecedented freedom for people to choose good or to choose evil. And the presumption in this country is that morality will be governed by a set of Christian norms. Even if people aren't like practicing Christians, they kind of inherit the sort of a fundamental understanding.
Elad is shaking his head. Nobody's wrong. I just want to say that.
The idea that the first, second, and our amendments are only made for Christians, I think they would have explicitly said that. Our country,
Elad,
I think, was
Elad,
founded
I gotta pause you
on
right
the explicitly the opposite,
Elad,
and they
no.
would have said Christian explicitly.
I gotta pause.
The writers of our constitutions were all lawyers.
And I got to pause. With all due respect, you are completely wrong, and you need to read all of what the founding fathers had written about this, because it is fairly explicit.
Yeah, and I think there was a range of religion amongst them,
what
and I
you're
think they
saying
would
is
have
not true.
explicitly
The range of
said-
religion was Presbyterian, Unitarian. The range of religion was Christian religion. There are no Jewish founders. There are no Muslim founders. There are
I
no
think they could have
Buddhist
explicitly- I think
founders.
they're smart
There were
enough
no
to have explicitly
atheist
said
founders.
that.
Let's pause a second.
It was taken as a
Elad,
given.
let's start with the Fifth Amendment. Do you know why the founding fathers created 4th, 5th, and 6th?
Specifically, no. But
It's the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. It is literally, as the spoken word of the founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin said it is better that 100 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer, which was a play on Blackstone's formulation. It is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer, which is literally written. And real quick, the story was Sodom and Gomorrah. It is better, if but one righteous person exists, I will not destroy this land. It was literally the Bible, which is why they said we should enshrine this in our Constitution.
And the inalienable rights that Americans enjoy are given by God, and they don't mean Ashanti Chakra. They mean the Christian deity.
I don't think they.
In every,
I think they would have said so. I think you guys are really overlooking how intelligent and smart the founders were, and if they thought Christian and they wanted the country to be explicitly Christian, they would have explicitly said so. And I think that's why you guys have to read into it. That's why you guys have to read it into it.
I got to stop you.
A Jew telling you to read between the lines.
I have read a lot of the foundational documents, and they would have explicitly written in Christianity.
When he asked you about 3, 4, and 5, could you have read them out? Do you know what they are?
No, not explicitly. explicitly. Not explicitly. But that doesn't. I'm not rejecting.
You don't know the amendments you're talking about. Everyone else
I'm
at the
not
table
rejecting the religious influence on our founding documents. I'm saying they would have explicitly.
Tim, you've done it again. You found the only stupid Jew.
Moral.
My favorite. Okay, guys, hold on.
Why don't you think they would have excluded Christian
Distinguished
of moral?
We found the only retarded. Sorry, I didn't mean that. Sorry. I know I'm not supposed to say that. Sorry.
Let's pause real quick. Real quick. Hand 2024.
I never know.
There we go.
Eliad. I used to see that guy around California. I think he's from LA.
Oh, really?
I think, yeah. He's so mad there.
Oh,
But see, that's what these people do. They come in and then they change. They make sure that they get all their fingers involved and they make sure that they take complete control of every aspect of
exploit
government.
any ambiguity, and he doesn't mention that the founders, because they fundamentally believed in white excellence, they trusted that people would understand the documents as written. They really thought that people weren't going to. Why is there a thumbs up? It's happening.
Yeah, I
again.
see it. I told you. Did you see that?
Yeah,
I did.
Weird.
Can people see that?
I don't know.
What is that? What the fuck? What the heck is going on here?
That is so weird. Is it Skype?
I don't know.
It might be Skype.
Now I've forgotten what I was saying. Oh, they trusted the audience.
Does this work?
Or the people.
It's Elon Musk and Starlink.
Yeah,
obviously.
totally.
Oh, it worked over here. The computer's adding it.
Oh, it's doing it again.
It's me. I have the
Okay,
power.
no, stop with the fingers.
Okay, wait, stop.
Okay. Oh shit! What the heck?
This is so dumb.
Get out.
Okay. Yeah. Cameron was gonna say that Milo's right. You think of what you think of whatever these people, but that's what they want. They get control of media so that they can say, oh, no, it was never about Christianity. And then they convince people of that. And they're like, separation of church and state, separation of church and state. So they get control of media to make sure that you think everything that they want you to think, right? So that they can completely subvert your society. They get control of government as well. What do you have to say about that clip, Cameron?
I thought Rebecca was about to finish her point.
Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead
did
and finish
you?
your point, Rebecca.
I got distracted by all the graphics.
Sorry.
Well, you were just saying that they thought people would understand that it was supposed to be a Christian
right.
nation.
We had a homogenous, higher IQ society, and people could understand these things on a basic level. They understood what the mission of the country was. I'm not even sure if the founders ever anticipated mass migrations from disparate populations, racial populations. This was supposed to be a country of Protestant whites. It was always that way.
Yep.
And they never envisioned
People like me.
in the internet.
People like you.
Yeah.
Well, they never envisioned the internet either,
No.
right?
Right.
Like Hamilton talked about factions in Federalist 10, I think it was. He talked about I think we talked about this, the Electoral College, right?
Madison, yeah, Madison.
I thought it was Hamilton. But yeah, they
I
talked
think
about
Federalist 10. Yeah.
or
Go
was
ahead.
it 83? Anyway, talked about factions and how the reason why we need the Electoral College is because this is one of the things that they talked about, is because you're going to have factions of people, like huge clumps of people that live together, and eventually they're going to start to think the same way. And if California has most of the population and Chicago has most of the population, that eventually that the entire election is going to be determined by, California and Chicago. They never thought of like the internet. Right, they never thought that the media was going to be taken over by the Jews, or whatever. They never, or the Chicons, or the Canadians, or whatever. They never thought that like any of these things were going to happen, and so, I think it's even more complex than having a low IQ society. I think that like most people were against gay marriage back during the administration of Barack Obama. Even Barack
Obama was against gay marriage.
Right. He was publicly opposed to gay marriage. But you see, there was something called TV, right? The Will and Grace effect, right? If you want to pull that up, the Will and Grace effect. This is actually something on Wikipedia you can read about. The producers even say that their intention behind Will and Grace was to normalize homosexuality in the mind of the public. And
Who were the producers, pray
they were
tell?
Jewish,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And so the thing is that like if you look in countries where this stuff is banned from media and banned from their commercials, the promotion of this stuff, they have a completely different set of beliefs than we do when it comes to morality.
Right.
Like Russia, most of the population is completely against gay marriage. So they're us, before our media started injecting this stuff into our brains.
But these other countries are not based on Enlightenment values. And I think that baked into the cake with Enlightenment values is the belief that you can trump tribalism or what people view as baser instincts with an ideology. And I think that is stupid. And I think that has allowed us to totally lose our moral center.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be up to the states. Morality is supposed to be up to, you want to talk about the amendments, the 10th Amendment, the police powers of the 10th Amendment. It's basically specifically states that the states are the ones that are supposed to determine how to regulate morality.
But that's not a solution either, because then you're still in a union with a bunch of states that condone horrible acts of immorality.
Or maybe not. I mean, maybe not most of them.
But based on America as it is now, I still have to live in a union with Californians that are going to, how many abortions happen in California on an annual basis?
A lot.
Yeah. So what do I really have in common with these people? Why even be a union? Let's talk about secession.
Well, does Cameron want to talk about that religious clip? Did you have something to say about Hamilton?
Well, I mean, what Milo said is true. So what he did not mention is a lot of Americans don't really know their own history, which is always what gets you into trouble. But one of the major causes of the Revolutionary War was the Great Awakening. And the Great Awakening was a flowering of Protestant religions, Methodism, Presbyterianism, Calvinism, etc., across the country in opposition to the Anglican Church. Right. And so the Protestants that landed in Plymouth and ultimately built the United States, they were very anti-Anglican. Basically, America has its roots in the Puritan movement that started under Elizabeth I. Right. And they never liked the Church of England. And they eventually became separatists. And separatists were people that believed in the separation of church and state. They were Protestants. It's a Protestant idea. So what is America? Well, basically, it's what de Tocqueville said it was. It's a combination of two things, Protestantism and limited government or liberty. The fusion of those two things built the United States long before the Constitution. Now, the founders didn't mention a lot of these details because they were trying to create laws that were very simple. They didn't want layer upon layer upon layer, right? And they had to get these laws ratified as it is. But everybody knew what the United States was. And if you go back and you read the documents, they're very clear. John Jay, who was one of the authors of the Federalist Papers, says that the United States is one of the most unified countries ever created in its history. We were, because we were about 80% British and 90% Protestant in 1790. The Catholic component, the other whites that came here, and obviously there's more than a few, like Vince, basically fused into that Anglo-Protestant paradigm. And that lasted until the 1960s. It was really in the 60s when everything changed. That being said, I want to make 2 points very clear here, because you'll see a lot of comments. People will say the United States was never a pure white country. Look, no country in the history of the world was pure. Not the Germans, not the Japanese, nobody. There was a core ethnos. The core ethnos is what 80% of the population is. White population was about 80% until the 1980s. Yeah. That's not that long ago.
Right.
It's the United States. That's who we are.
So I'm not old. Let's go.
But yeah, no, America was founded by religious extremists that had guns and wanted to kill the government. And that fits into a long tradition here in North Idaho.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah,
I too.
Yeah, and I would say I would make one other point too, because this is important. Protestants basically failed as the protectors of the country. The WASP elite was derelict in its duty, and who basically stepped in their place were the Catholics. The old Catholic code that held forth against the Hollywood Zionists that were trying to poison America. They were based primarily in Chicago, right? They were Catholics. I would dare say, if you look at Fuentes, he's a Catholic. I would dare say that the most vehement opponents to the left are the Catholics, not the WASPs, who basically have forfeited their responsibility to protect the country. It's very sad, but that is the case. The good news is, basically, we're Christians today. Those factions, I don't think, matter like they used to.
By the way, is it Tocqueville or is it Tocqueville?
I thought it was de Tocqueville.
Tocqueville.
Is it Tocqueville? Okay, I always pronounced it Tocqueville.
Who was Catholic?
I read about him. He was Catholic, right? Yeah. Do we want to play that clip of
Bill Maher?
Of Bill Maher?
No, do I have that?
Oh, I thought you had it up.
I thought I did.
If you don't have it up, it's fine. It's on my Twitter.
It
it's fine.
I'll get it.
We need to get the chat. So next time we're going to, by the way, if you guys want to send super chats, we'll read them at the end of the stream. It's powerchat.live/thebacklash. You should be able to find it. Just go to thebacklash.net, right?
Yeah.
Backlash.net.
We know things.
Powerchat.live/thebacklash.
We got that set up.
It works. You can send us a message right now.
Next
It'll
week,
pop up right here on the screen.
Oh, will it really?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's set up to go right now.
And next week we'll have the... Wait, what are we going to have next week?
Our Subscribe Star should be done pending review next week. We've set up a Patreon. What else do we have going on?
Oh, we're going to get that live joiner going so we could see all the live chats in one. So if you're on X, if you're watching on X, if you're watching on Rumble, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on wherever, we'll be able to see the live chat all in one and read that. So, Dave, I was trying to buy you time.
Oh, well, I got it. It's fine.
Okay, good.
And keep in mind that I cannot get super chats. Probably don't donate on Rumble. So if you want to donate to the show so that we can improve our set and everything like that.
Yeah, don't donate in Rumble.
The easiest way to do it is on the website, thebacklash.net.
The Backlash.
Or you can go to thebacklash.net/donate.
Yep.
And we also have Bitcoin. We can accept Bitcoin. And that's totally anonymous. A new wallet address is generated every time. So your funds actually cannot be traced. And so anyway. Okay, so Bill Maher, what are we looking at here?
All right, so this is what we have, right? This is the type of people we're dealing with here. Bill Maher applauds the fact that London went from 90% white to 36% white. I mean, that's what's going on, not just in London, right? Paris is not French anymore.
Yeah. Well, here,
London isn't British anymore. Go ahead.
In 1984, I remember walking around London like it was all white. It was all white.
But you go outside of London now, but now it's totally changed.
It went from, I read this in Andrew Sullivan's column, it went from, in 50 years, it went from 86% white to 36% white. Now, this is not a complaint. See, if we were conservatives, this would be like a lament. Great.
It's a fact.
It's a fact, and it's a happy fact.
And if you can't discuss it,
just don't tell me we're living in a year we're not living in. We're living in the year when London is mostly people of color.
Yes, it is.
And I'm applauding it.
Yep.
Happy for you. Happy for it.
Okay.
But let's live in the year we're living in.
It's...
What are these people saying?
You go to Windsor Castle, okay? And the town, of course, is called Windsor. And it used to be, when I was a kid, all English tea shops with china, and everybody used to go there for afternoon tea. And you'd go to Windsor Park and watch some polo. And now you go around there, there's no more fucking tea shops.
Right.
None of that.
Right.
It's Arabic restaurants.
Right.
It's Jamaican restaurants. Right. It's Chinese. It is a complete and utter melting pot. And it's great.
And it's great.
It's great.
And there's always going to be some people, and we can't hate them for it, who remember the tea shop, and that's their memories of their youth and where they first fell in love or whatever. And so they're going to be nostalgic for it. Mm-hmm. And that you can't hate them because they're like, I don't recognize my country anymore. Because in the Brexit vote, there was a lot of that. People said that. People who lived in England their whole life.
Course.
And the old village green England's like...
The traditional things have gone.
Right.
But we still have the royal family that is way too traditional. Right. It's way too. I love them, but they're way too traditional. It needs to cut back on the shit.
My message to those people is always, sorry, but that's life on Earth.
It's not.
Things change.
Nothing stays the same.
Nothing stays
and
the
if
same.
if you
gotta,
stay the same,
right.
you're left behind.
Now, you don't have to like the change, but you can't just stand there in the middle of the street and go, "Stop! I am standing athwart change." It just doesn't work that way. Change is going to come, and it's going to roll over you. It's how you deal with it.
That's right.
You know, you can move. You'll have to, maybe. Yeah. You know, it's sad. Maybe it would be a better choice to try to adapt to what's new.
You can stop it. What is Sharon Osbourne's real last name?
I don't know. Is she Jewish? They would never apply this to themselves. Like if Jews got ethnically cleansed and we were like, oh, it's just the change. You just need to get used to the change. Like that would never fly. These communities, these long traditions, they're all being destroyed, systematically destroyed. So that people like Bill Maher can feel safe. That's the only way Jews can feel safe, by destroying their host societies.
As of December
I'm getting too
23.
too wig-natty for you guys.
Little wig-natty.
Sharon Rochelle Levy.
Ooh, let me
Levy.
look.
Go ahead, Cameron.
As of 2023, December, 73% of Israel is Jewish. And the remainder is some mix of Arabs and so forth.
Really?
That's
what Bill Maher is saying is a total lie. And I hear this a lot from people in the West. I'm glad you played this clip, because I hear this a lot from Americans in particular who will say, well, the whole world is globalizing. I have been to over 30 countries. I've lived in Asia. I'm currently in South America, or Central America, I should say. I've lived in South America, Europe. Most of the world is absolutely not integrating. Most of the world lives in Asia. Their borders are closed. They are homogenous societies. China is 1.5 billion people. India, the same. The biggest problem in the world is ethnic conflict. That was true 1,000 years ago. It's true today. What Maher is saying is false. It only applies to white countries that have opened their borders and have invited this kind of ethnic tribal conflict that now is devastating these countries. That's it. The rest of the world wonders why we're doing what the hell we're doing.
Exactly. If you talk to the Chinese, let's say, like, why don't you have more Africans? They're like, well, we brought 10,000 Africans to Guangdong, and they didn't integrate in the culture at all. Not that we would want them to. They're treated like shit there. If you're black and in China, they'll come up to you and be like, why is your skin so dirty? Like, are you
Have you seen that commercial?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking
I know
about?
where she puts him in the washing machine.
Where she puts him in the washing machine and he comes out white. Have you seen that, Cameron?
Yeah.
Wait, can we pull that commercial up on YouTube?
In Asian countries, they are openly racist. In China, they believe that black people are lesser than. They will spit on you. They will be openly hostile to you. And then they're looking at these white countries and they're like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to yourself? This is a classic. I'm so glad Cameron gets to see this. There's no audio.
I know I have it muted. Oh my gosh, that is just way too
They
funny.
take it really seriously. There was this university in China, this was probably 10 years ago, it's been memory hold, I still can't find an article about it anywhere, where they took in a few African exchange students who ended up banging a bunch of the Chinese, like the native Chinese students, and the Chinese men marched them to the watchtower and threw them off the watchtower. They're like, they understand that when foreign people come in and have sex with their women, it's an invasion and they need to be stopped. Like, Americans have been so propagandized, Western people have been so propagandized that they don't even see this.
Yeah, well, you've got parents letting their sons cut their penises off.
I know, it's incredible.
I mean, it's not exactly a stretch.
Yeah, it's not a stretch.
It actually seems much less radical to replace your entire ethnic demography.
Totally.
We went
That's
from
definitely true,
Democrats like calling for like raids on porn shops in the 1950s to like this.
Yeah.
all because no one has the courage to stand up against it. Like even abortion, like Republicans won on abortion, and then they're just like sort of backpedaling now. They're like, oh no, it's kind of like you're going too far, Idaho.
Right.
You're going too far, states that we've given, this right to regulate morality back to. So not even on abortion do they want to really like stand strong on, even though that's the only thing that they stood strong on for the past forever. And they won because they stood together and they stood unified against abortion. They won.
What would do more than any policy decision is if people got together and reinstituted shame within female communities. Women are responsive to this stuff. Like if people, and with the migrant thing too, if we just treated all these people like dog shit all the time, I think that they would self-deport.
Did you know that half of all women who get abortions have had at least one abortion?
Yeah.
What?
So this 25%
That's according
of
to
women.
Guttmacher Institute.
So this thing of 25% of women have had abortions is not true. It's an average over the entire population, and most women that have had abortions have had previous abortions. So it's like the same woman.
It's a very small percentage that are repeat customers.
Yes, yeah. I knew a woman once that had had 3 abortions when she was married because she's like, it was just a timing issue. Women that have overcome that in their mind will use it as a birth control method.
They just use it as contraception.
Yes.
Yeah.
25% have had at least 2.
What?
That's according to the liberal Guttmacher.
25% of all women?
You look it up. Over 50% of women who have abortions have had at least one. 25% of women who have abortions that have had abortions have had that is having an abortion has had at least 2.
Wow. Well, I mean, I was also going to say that, it is, I can kind of understand why the Republicans are kind of losing it on the fight for life at this point, and it's frankly because of what's going on in Gaza. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, you can't sit by and stand there while 40,000 innocent children are slaughtered mercilessly in front of the world to see. Mm-hmm. And then say that it was justified. And not only that, they should hit them harder. They should kill more Palestinians.
Turn it to glass.
And that the ICJ is a terrorist organization.
These are the people who are the current leaders of like the Protestant community at this point. So like obviously they're going to lose it when it comes to the fight for life because, either life is sacred or it's not. A 3-year-old's life is sacred in Gaza.
It's worse than the Nakba, right?
Yeah. Right now, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worse than Dresden. It's worse than Hiroshima.
In terms of numbers, really?
More tonnage of bomb has been dropped on Gaza than Dresden or Hiroshima. It's astounding. Yeah. It's astounding.
It's a genocide.
It's
a genocide.
It is
it's
a genocide.
Ethnic cleansing. Yeah, it's an ethnic cleansing. Look, this is why people are waking up. And look, the victim cloak has been very effective. I made a video addressing this theme. I said that what was the consequence of the Second War? Basically, we entered into an era of victimization. And what's the chief state in that paradigm? It's Israel. Israel is the victim. They are the chief victim or victims. Well, victims become the worst tyrants, don't they? And that's what the world is seeing. And it's undermining our credibility everywhere. And it's fueling this conflict that I think is percolating in the Middle East. And we're going to start to suffer consequences for this. My hope is, my sense is the evangelicals are going to wake up. I think that's going to happen. But again, there's hopium that we can sort of preserve the status quo. Well, one other thing
Cameron, we just got a thumbs down on screen again. I don't know how this is happening. Go ahead.
One other thing I should mention, this is sort of a tangential point, but I do think it's important. When people ask me, are you a conservative? My answer is no, I am not a conservative. I am not trying to conserve the status quo in the United States. I am a nationalist. Ultimately, we have to restore the national identity of the population. That's been the subject of our discussion. Conservatism died in 2008, in my view, when Barack Obama was elected president, because a majority of the majority who voted against him lost. That's basically when the democratic system in this country broke down. And what the right is struggling with today is you have factions that are trying to breathe life into the legacy system. These are the people that support Donald Trump. God bless them. But ultimately, conservatism is done. It failed. Now we need nationalism. Nationalism is the answer. And you know how we know that? Because everybody's afraid of it.
Yes.
We're afraid of it. The left is afraid of it. That tells you that's the direction we must go.
And with that, should we go to Super Chats?
Do we have Super Chats?
I don't know.
I don't even know how
great.
to check them. You got to go to Power. I think you got to go to Power Chat dashboard.
I did see that
Power Chat might not be working.
that somebody said that Power Chat might not be working. So if
sweet.
you would like to make a donation, please go
Backlash.net.
thebacklash.net. Oh my gosh, you guys. And keep in mind, I know
Backlash.net.
people
We'll
had
figure it out. We'll
people
get it
had
up
a
and
lot
we'll
to
get it
say
up.
about last week, but like what I've learned about podcasting is that you just put out an episode and then every episode you try to make it a little bit better.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you can do.
And that's what we're doing. So I hope this episode was a little better than last week, that we got some of those production issues hammered out. And I don't know if we're going to do an episode next week. We've talked about filming one ahead of time, but it's up to the boys, so we'll discuss that. But if we don't see you on Thanksgiving, we will have something pre-recorded or not. Then we will be back on the following Thursday.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
We can pre-record something probably Monday or something.
Let's definitely
Yeah, we
figure
can
it
do
out
that.
right
Yeah.
now. Everybody give me your schedule and we can have another
Right now, while we're live?
on-air production meeting.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. That was so much fun, you guys. That was
Yeah,
such
we'll
a
figure it out.
fruitful discussion.
All right. Thank you so much for
I'm
joining.
sold on that mic. I like it better than my Rode.
Oh my God.
This one here.
This
Stop.
one?
Get out of
yeah.
town, you two.
No.
Okay,
Do
well,
it later.
Take it easy, guys. We will see you next stream.